Good evening, everyone. My name is Shehryar Effendi.
My name is Joshua Dubin.
My name is Daniel Irving, and our Mechanical Design 2 project is on one of the top philanthropic organizations in the United States, Engineers Without Borders. Engineers Without Borders is one of the largest skilled philanthropic organizations in the United States. It spans from the United States over to Europe and also to Spain. Before the name Engineers Without Borders was given, the organization was first called Engineers Sans Frontières. The original goal of the organization was to serve technical support for developmental projects for the poorest people in developing countries. Majority of the initial membership consisted of mainly inexperienced volunteers that led to a lack of professionalism in the organization. This also led to keeping the organization to only small, low-tech projects. To combat this issue, volunteers were placed in mandatory training sessions that briefed them on the project details as well as dealing with the people of the region. This allowed them to interact better with the people and the kids of the region, so that the projects weren't only skilled, but allowed them to interact with the people so they could learn their customs. Along with these mandatory meetings, teams were partnered with local engineers in the target country in order to improve relations and to give professional guidance to unskilled volunteers. As recognition of the work in Africa grew, so did the culture of the organization. More people started to learn about it in France and also other countries in Spain. By 1987, over 15 Engineers Without Borders chapters have been founded throughout Europe. Even though the chapters had expanded, most of the work was still being done in small countries in Africa. Along this expansion, volunteers not only worked on developmental projects, but through their partnership with local engineers began to fill the needs of emergency projects for many of the impoverished countries. The newfound growth sparked a need for change in the structure of an organization that had existed purely through organizing groups of volunteers. In the early 90s, despite much controversy, full-time employees were hired into the organization in an attempt to make the organization look more professional and more business-like. These full-time employees worked with getting the different jobs and to help the people integrate into the different countries. Continuous growth of EWB led to an election of a president in 1995. This action sparked incredible outrage because members of the organization, along with other outsiders, felt the organization was becoming too commercialized and that it would start to be a problem.
One of the most prominent EWB organizations is EWB USA. EWB USA was formed in June of 2002. Like all the other nations, USA joined the club because they really wanted to make a difference. A quote from the founder is, "EWB USA began with an idea. Connect a developing community that has a specific infrastructure need to engineers who can partner with the community to design a sustainable solution." In April of 2000, Dr. Bernard Amiti, a civil engineering professor at the University of Colorado Boulder, was invited to San Pablo, Belize to evaluate the community's water supply. During his visit, Dr. Amiti completed an evaluation and instantly declared the conditions unfit. The community had the resources as well as the desire to change their water situation, as children were being forced to travel several miles just for clean water. Shortly after his first visit, Dr. Amiti returned back to San Pablo with 8 of his driven students and Dennis Walsh, a fellow civil engineering expert. After reviewing the community's situation, they decided to engineer a water supply system that was powered by a nearby waterfall. Through Dr. Amiti and his team, they were able to combine the resources with the skill to complete EWB USA's first project. As you can see from this picture, this was taken during his first visit. That's Dr. Amiti meeting with the children of San Pablo and making a difference in all of their lives. One of the largest EWB national organizations happens to be neighboring the United States, Canada. EWB Canada's story was different to that of USA's. In the year of 2000, the same year as the story began for USA, 2 engineering graduates, George Roeder and Parker Mitchell, were meeting in a coffee shop for brunch. They were conversing about their outlook on engineering and just how much of a positive impact they had as typical engineers working for a company. They decided that they wanted to do more than just contribute a bridge or an electrical grid or a car. They wanted to make a difference for the people who needed it most. They wanted other engineers to be able to do the same. And so, George and Parker's conversation became a vision. That vision became a dream. They began by hosting meetings, inviting all the fellow engineers that they knew in George's parents' living room. The meetings continued, And by the end of 2000, they had over 1,000 attendees, and chapters were actually forming. In January of 2001, EWB Canada's first volunteer left for a 4-month internship in India. Now, EWB Canada is home to over 50,000 members. Through action and consistency, George and Parker exemplified how a dream can become reality.
So the existence of the organization Engineers Without Borders has started from the 1980s, and it has caused a domino effect in our global community, with thousands of schools and hundreds of countries participating in this ripple effect. The need to know of how it works, its history, its goals, and its future has increased tremendously. Primarily in the United States, the Engineers Without Borders basically consists of an organization of 16,000 volunteers who have worked or are currently working or are basically waiting to start work in a third world country. Besides this, Engineers Without Borders gives us as students, us as graduates, and us as professionals the opportunity to basically take part in its volunteer program. So a very important aspect that we came across was the limitations, which were basically having Engineers Without Borders is a large umbrella which has a bunch of different organizations working under it. So having one page or basically one stop for all these open projects as well as sub-organizations on one page. So basically what these open projects are. These open projects range from smaller trailer trip projects to big community projects where engineers are taking care of sanitation or basic necessities of life, reconstructing or basically helping out with any damages that have happened to any community. So as discussed earlier, these projects are basically, they range from large projects to smaller ones. So there's a project in Alaska basically that is a trailer park community of 23 families that need help with their sanitary survey. Another one of these projects is basically the Native American community in Denver, Colorado, who have their infrastructure and everything made at that place for the past 18 years, which requires a lot of construction and basically renovation. Another one of these projects is in the village of Grover Hill, an isolated rural community, and it's in need of assistance in order to get a better understanding of basically the current operating performance levels, the condition assessments, the treatment processes. Basically, it needs rehabilitations, repair, replacements on its wastewater collection. So basically the village desires to develop and implement a capital improvement projects in affordable wastewater systems, as well as long-term asset management programs. They do not have the financial resources. However, having Engineers Without Borders help them is going to be a whole new perspective for them, and it's going to basically help them back merge into the community.
Personally, I believe Engineers Without Borders is one of the greatest organizations for young engineers to get involved in. It allows young, unskilled engineers to get experience in different countries on real-life projects. On top of getting able to travel, it allows you to organize yourself and get yourself more around than a regular internship can actually do for you. Engineers Without Borders International is the bridge between all the organizations in the different countries. While Engineers Without Borders are separate entities in each country, that one umbrella allows the different countries to bridge together. Engineers Without Borders is great also in my opinion because it allows engineers to make a difference in the world.